So just when I think I've seen it all, I've done it all, I've worked with it all, the ARD, or the Adjustable Red Dot Sight, came around. They reached out to me and they were like, hey, can you work with our product, spotlight it a little bit, talk about it, and some of the pros and cons of putting a literal freaking red dot sight on a modern day compound bow? And I will not lie to you, at first I was incredibly skeptical. I've been incredibly skeptical about a lot of products that really break the mold of the general, pins and peep that are in the industry. But in this case, because I can grab it like this, dare that to do that with your normal compound bow sight, I was like, all right, let's check this thing out. Now, no kidding aside, this is a fully adjustable red dot scope that you would put onto a firearm, a shotgun, a long-barreled revolver, even a rifle if it's close enough quarters. And as ridiculous as it looks for me to literally grab this and hold it and shake it by it, that's the robust build here. And that was the first thing that intrigued me. Now, today, we're not going into how to set one of these up. I have a couple different price models here. We're not doing that in today's video. This is just my initial couple months impression of how this has worked out for me and who this is for, and what the real strong benefits are of this type of sight if you're interested in looking at something like this. So first things first, let's talk about the build components, what goes into the actual sight at both different price points, a couple different price points, and then we'll talk about the pros and cons that I've bumped into as I've been working with the past couple of months. The first things first is that the robust nature of all the price points, not just this one, is absolutely fantastic. This is the highest level. This is actually an adjustable, like a single pin slider sight. We'll get to all that later. But this is meant for handguns, it is meant for shotguns, it is meant for any type of firearm, full-fledged firearm, not some cheapy thing you pick up at Walmart for your little air rifle or air pistol type thing. This is meant to handle massive amounts of recoil, so it is actually built incredibly durable. I have yet to see, not to mention, of course, this all well and good. This looks fantastic, just gripping it by the sight and shaking it around. But the actual vibration, there is none. It is so quiet. Like, this is inarguably the quietest sight I have ever shot. Fixed pin, single pin slider, whatever it may be from any manufacturer, because it's literally just a gun mount, a Weaver style gun mount, which we'll pull up later, on a bow, right? So not only is it that, it offers because it's a gun mount system, it is incredibly compact. And this is again, the build quality portion of it as well. Because you have a build that is so compact and is actually sitting behind the riser, you notice most of the weight is sucked in close to the riser, and then it is behind normally where it sticks out here. So I don't have to run nearly as much weight on this back bar. This back bar is what I would usually run. It's actually almost too much. And as you see, it takes the bow over when I just have an open hand. I could either probably eliminate this back bar or reduce all this weight to almost nothing. That's pretty nice in terms of the build and in terms of the quality. You do get the full function of a red dot sight. So you're getting not only a reticle color in the red, but you're also getting reticle sizes. So you're getting small down to bigger dots, but then also in the higher price model, you're also getting one that has a plus sign or one that's a dot with a circle around it. So you can really optimize what you want to look at when you're shooting downrange. Of course, you also get scope covers because of the inclement weather. We'll take those off just for the purpose here. Now, I doubt you'll be able to actually see what's going on through here, and I'll probably be very surprised in post. But of course, I'll set this to the brightest setting that it possibly can on a gigantic plus sign, and you may or may not be able to squeak it out through there. There he is. Right? So you get some serious brightness out of here. You can dial this all the way down to the smallest micro dot that you need to. So you can really fine tune what you have in the build here when it actually comes to shooting this on a bow, which is nice for those of us like myself that wear corrective lenses. I really struggle with pin starbursting because I have a massive astigmatism in my right eye. This has really helped clear up that sight picture, and since I can go down with a really tiny dot or I can go with a giant over brightened one depending on the lighting situation, it really allows me to actually fine tune what I'm looking at when I'm shooting outdoors or in. So of course, being a full red dot scope, you get windage and elevation built right into the sight. We'll talk more about a massive gang adjustment later, but actually, as those of you probably noticed, it is on its side. So usually these two are the top turrets, and then you have this one's on the right-hand side for windage, or the left and right. In this case, it's flipped. So now your windage is now your elevation, and your elevation is now your windage, and then you can adjust the brightness of your dot. 11 settings, including off. Now, the scopes are made by Ultradot and Matchdot, which is a Japan-based company, and of course, they make some of the best scopes in the world for some of the best manufacturers that we see here and recognize in the United States. All of the block framing, however, and whatever goes into the sight itself is made in Michigan, and Tim does a fantastic job with the tolerances here. Now, I'm just going to demonstrate this as it is the single pin version, which does have the lock here on the side. You can actually lock it in at your top positive 20 stop, and that's how you're set up. Now, then you can go and actually move this like a single pin slider, so you can actually get as much elevation out of this as you want and actually shoot it like a sighted tape single pin, which is insane to me. But then if you couple that with the fact you can make your dot smaller and smaller and smaller as your targets it further and further and further out, it actually makes it a pretty legit little compact little system. Now, I have not tested it past 40 yards, but it looks like it could easily work out to 100. And since I have this moved out of the way, regardless of the model that you're shooting, you do have multiple places here in the cheese plate, if you will, of the mounting bracket to move this up and down, in and out, to really fine tune your gang adjustment. Now, your overall gang adjustment is, in these terms, done with the quick detach knob. So these I loosen up and I'm able to work the actual pitch and elevation of the sight. So this here, if I loosen up this front one, actually works on a click system. Okay, and that's how I know where that's going to sit up at the front. The back I'm just loosening so that way it allows that pivot. You'll notice that this sight has a downward slant to it, pointing down towards the arrow, and all models are going to be set up in that way. I'll pull up a more basic model here in a second and still show you how that's set up. Even though the nuts and bolts idea are the same, there are a few cheaper options to it, so that way you don't have the single pin slider version. It's more of a fixed pin. You'll see it all in a minute. So let's switch over to a more base version, a cheaper version, if you will. Although the quality is still there, there's just less bells and whistles here. And you'll notice the scope also has a two-tone look to it because it is a cheaper variety, meaning that there are just fewer options. The robust build quality, it's all still there. I can still grab this thing and do whatever I want with it. And actually, I really like this mounting option. So you noticed on the other one, it actually had scope rings and it was mounted horizontally, right, instead of vertically. Now this one, you're still supposed to mount horizontally, but I've done, and I've just gone did it anyway, because there's actually a hole here on my riser where a little screwdriver fits through perfectly, and I can actually get to the windage knob here to move my dot left and right to compensate for that when I go to sight in. So I just remove the scope cover and I can just fiddle it back on when I'm done sighting in. Although I do like the build quality of both styles with the scope rings, and then this one, which is actually mounted onto a Weaver style rail, I really like this Weaver style rail a lot more. And the main reason being that I have scope rings here attached to the actual build itself. I can then remove them right off this Weaver rail, leave the Weaver rail and everything else exactly intact, take this very robust, very high quality red dot sight and put it on my turkey gun, or put it on my revolver, or put it on an air rifle, or whatever I need to put it on, re-sight in, use it for that season, then right when I'm ready to start with my bow again, I just put it back on the Weaver rail. Nothing has changed. Re-sight in and everything's golden. I'm a huge fan of this Weaver rail style position. It does come with arms that can be longer or shorter depending on the anchor point that you want to do. If you want to have your kind of head out and away a little bit, if you want to be tighter into the string, we'll get into that more in the second video where I actually go through setting one of these up. Again, you notice here on the side multiple mounting adjustment places here so you can really fine tune where it needs to be, but you'll notice that I don't have quick change knobs here because this is fixed. This is going to be set at whatever distance you want to be sighted in at. So most people, that's going to be 20 yards, and you can cover yourself from 0 to 20 and then maybe out to 25. You do a little bit of gap shooting. Or if you really want to work with your dot, you can figure out what size you need. Now this is being the match dot here. This has fewer dot options, just goes from small to large. I think there's 4 or 5 options here. And then of course it still does have 11 options here for how bright you want it. The build quality is actually the same. You just get fewer bells and whistles. The turrets aren't as fancy. You get the idea. So that was an Elite Kure, which is a 32-inch axle to axle. This is an Elite Energy 35, which is 35 inches axle to axle. Then I actually have the third model that I have that ARD sent me set up on my Athens Vista 35, which is even longer yet with its oversized cams. I just love how you mount with these things. And you can work with, I have the longer arms on here, so I am a little bit out further away from the string here when I'm actually looking down through the scope. But if I wanted to use the shorter arms, I could get in tighter to the string, much more like a competition style recurve archer who would shoot with a really low anchor and the string would come up corner of their mouth, nose, and then it would be part of their sight picture when they're shooting at 70 meters. So I'm a big traditional shoot pins, shoot with the peep, a lot of competition, so on and so forth, where the ARD here is illegal, along with a lot of other sites that I've gone and reviewed, like the EZV, for example. They're not legal in IBO sanctioned events, NFAA sanctioned events. They're good for y'all come and shoot events, or if you are allowed to use something like this in your state in the hunting woods. But the thing that I love the most is I just come to full draw and then I just find the scope. That's all I gotta do. Just find the scope, that's it. And I'm very aware of my peripherals because I just find the scope. And all it is I'm putting that dot, that center dot, right in the center of this tube. And I can see if this tube is looking a little bit cat eye, I know it's not straight. I need to position my head, put the dot in the center, and it just eats. Like there's just no other better way to describe it. It's probably the best pro that this actual system has, is that I just kind of just find the dot and that's it. There's no find my anchor point, get settled in, find it. If I'm just shooting a fixed distance, and I'm in particular excited to take this one out into the turkey woods or out into the deer woods this fall, mounted on this weaver rail system, that's all there is. Draw back, find the dot, put it in the center of the tube, and you're done. There is no other type of alignment thing. So I don't know how finite you can be past 20, 30, 40 yards for a hunting situation, but let's be honest, if you're in the Northeast, the Midwest, the North, definitely in the deep South where it's super brushy, you're not getting more than 20, 30, 40 yards anyway. So I alluded to this earlier, that Elite Kure is set at about 29.5 inches of draw length. I'm closer to a 31. Now this Energy 35 here is a mod-based specific cam, so I have no adjustment here, and it's set at 31 inches. And it still anchors just fine. I don't feel overly scrunched, I don't feel overly short. I'm right there and exactly anchored. I'm very comfortable. I don't feel like I'm pushing one way or the other. So I think you can use it with the mod-based cam-specific bow, or one that has a rotating module or adjustable let-off, where you're able to fine-tune your draw length in an easier way. So that's here just for the impressions on the ARD, the adjustable red dot sight, in its couple different price points. And I'm sure I've shown some screenshots of the ARD website as I've gone through this video. But I definitely will want to be showing how to set up these at multiple different price points, the pros and cons, and how to set this up if you want to shoot this like a single pin slider. Those links, when those videos are posted, will be down in the description below. And while you're down there, if you have a question on the ARD or any other video that I've posted onto YouTube, follow the links that are in the description to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram. You can send me an email, averagejackarchery@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment here on YouTube. In particular, if you also have purchased one of these to go ahead and shoot, whether take it to your 3D course or actually into the hunting woods. In the meantime, I hope you're able to get outside, enjoy the sport of archery hunting if you so choose. Definitely enjoy God's beautiful creation, and we'll get to see you next time.